Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty here with a recap and review of Interview with a Vampire, Episode 5, A Vile Hunger for Your Hammering Heart. And, yeah, I don't think this one got dropped in the episode either. I kept hearing about this episode and was terrified of running into spoilers for it, so I ended up watching it a little early. Because just, I hate getting spoiled for stuff. And I'd already gotten spoiled a tiny bit on some of the previous episodes, so... Anyway, so we start off with Daniel reading a victim's list with dying quotes from Claudia's diaries while Louis is drinking from Rashid. And it took me, I had to rewind to make sure to see this was happening because it looked like Rashid was being strangled by himself. It was a weird looking scene. And apparently Rashid, everyone is trying to figure out who he is. Some people think he is Armand. I don't. My two main theories are that he is Akasha or that he is Lestat, because, body swapping. I also think Louis could be Lestat, because, again, we have a body thief thing in a future book, so. But, Rashid was by a sunny window, so. If he were a normal vampire, I don't know if that would make much sense. But anyway, so that's what's happening. It's really weird, the whole drinking in front of Daniel thing. But we have him reading, and, apparently Claudia killed a little boy with an inner tube. Camcorder got unplugged. So, yeah. She got a little boy with an inner tube, and he's just please let my dog live. And it's did the dog live? Because I kind of expected the next entry to just be, oh, the dog didn't make a noise when I killed him or something. But the dog is not addressed, so I have no idea if the dog lived. And Louis is still drinking from Rashid. It's taken forever. It's very weird. Daniel is concerned about, Claudia's stuff. He's very disturbed by it. But Rashid thinks Daniel is no better than Claudia because he calls the book basically Louis' suicide note. And it's when this book gets published, vampires are going to scale the building because apparently that's a thing vampires can do now. And so it's apparently... Louis trying to kill himself? Not entirely sure here. And, Rashid seems very loyal to Louis. It's not entirely clear why. It feels like more than just, he helped me out one time. Fans are picking up on it that something's going on here. Daniel demands a drink, does not say please, and we jump back to the past, where Louis is worried about Claudia. There are pigeons everywhere. It's very unclean. And Louis just murders one, and I feel terrible about it. But he's worried about Claudia because, she's on a hunger strike, she hasn't left her room or whatever. And they're oddly oblivious to what she's been up to, because it's aren't you guys supposed to be vampires? You really can't, with the amazing vampire hearing, you can't pick up on her sneaking out of the place, the house and whatnot. And that they continue to have Lestat saying things in French, and they never subtitle the French, so I never know what he's saying. But when Louis tries to blame Lestat, rightfully so, for Claudia's attitude, Lestat storms into her room and just breaks her coffin open. Literally just breaks it. I don't think that was nothing. You could have just opened it. And it again comes out that they're really oblivious. They have no idea she wasn't in the house. And they read her diary. And she's thinking some dark thoughts about the fact that her body will heal. If she hooks up with the guy, won't that become undone? I'm trying to be subtle here because it feels wrong talking about that kind of stuff. And we were shown Claudia killing some poor old dude. And she just leaves his body lying there as far as we can see. So she's not only killing people, she's killing so carelessly. And... When she gets home, she's confronted by Louis and Lestat, and Louis is all months of concern wasted, and I don't think your concern was wasted, this is a troubled girl. And it comes out she's been killing all these people, and that's we haven't been burning bodies, what are you doing with the bodies? And she eventually confesses that she's been burying them, and she feels rightfully betrayed that they read her diary and broke into her room, and she's super upset, and it's I have a brother, I've been there. And apparently she's been, like, burying the bodies by, like, the sea line or something. So it's like, oh, when there's a storm, and of course there's a storm, and so many bodies. Just all these bodies show up. Lestat and Louis go to some club that, I think it's the other businessman dude from what feels like way earlier in the story is there. And yeah, he reveals that 56 bodies were found, so Claudia has been busy. And how trophies were being taken, like fingers, feet, breasts. And we know from, the preview that Claudia has been keeping them in her room. And it's like, wouldn't that smell again? How are they not picking up on any of this stuff? And the random dude wants them to fund his political campaign, but he also mentions a fraternal order, which I think is supposed to be the cops, because there's apparently cops there. Lestat marks the businessman dude with an X. It seems like he's gonna kill some people, but I don't know that either him or the police guy that's in the club dies. Time stops, and they leave. But it just seems really weird to me, because, like, if you have the power to stop time, wouldn't most of the stuff that happens throughout this, like, I don't want to necessarily say the show, but, like, in the book, a lot of stuff happens where it's like, if the vampires had the ability to stop time, I feel like they'd be able to avoid a lot of this tragedy. So I don't know that this was a good ability to give them. Same thing with the flying. Like, if they're making them too powerful, how do they ever end up, like, losing or suffering, especially at the hands of humans? But, so I'm guessing what they meant by fraternal order was that the guy invited them there partly so that the cops could search their house. And the cops were let in by Claudia, and they're searching the place with no warrant. And Claudia, it seemed like she did this out of revenge, but she's acting drunk, so I think she's actually supposed to be drunk. And she goes to her room, and suddenly she cares and starts cleaning up. There are body parts everywhere, rotting body parts. It's horrible. Again, how does it not smell? Do vampires not have a sense of smell? I don't know anymore. But it's really gross. And there's like a dude in her closet who is apparently still alive, and they can't get the door to her room open, the cops, and it's like, that's my daughter's room, and it's like, yeah, break it in. It's like, you could just knock. The officer dude breaks in, and Claudia pretends that she was, like, in the middle of changing, and the dude apologizes and leaves. So it's like, at least one cop is fairly decent. And the cops leave. Louis and Lestat try to threaten them, but they're like, oh, we could arrest you for crimes against nature, which I think they're supposed to be referring to the gay stuff, but all I could think about was all the animals that Louis has killed. And Lestat is furious with Claudia. I mean, I gotta be fair, slightly justified here. But they kind of cut to a scene where Claudia, I don't think it's when Claudia leaves, but yeah, it's before Claudia leaves. It's hard to remember exactly, even though I just watched the episode. So Claudia kind of starts ranting to them about, all the stuff she'll never get to do because of her age. Like, you two love each other, who am I supposed to love? Who's gonna love me? Perverts, little boys. Like, who am I supposed to be with? I don't know that she's really, that it doesn't really make as much sense here as it did with Claudia in the other mediums, because she's not a child, especially in this time period where kids are getting married fairly young. And again, she's played by a 19-year-old, so she does look fairly adult. She can pass for an adult, or she can pass for just slightly short. And, like, it's not entirely possible to meet a guy that looks her age and, eventually turn him, or even one a few years older. Like she could hook up with, like, a 21-year-old or something, I don't know. So it doesn't really work to try and play that card here. But, of course, Lestat has to be insensitive, and he's continuing to just be awful. And it basically turns out that Claudia has actually tried to make others because she wants a companion. And I was like, I gotta give her credit. She's at least putting forth the effort, because it did kind of occur to me that, like, she could have a companion that way. So, again, she's trying. And then she makes a comment about how Lestat treats her and Louis like garbage. And I'm wondering what she's meaning, but then she basically reveals that, like, Lestat's been, like, cheating, hooking up with some girl. And then Claudia goes to her room. That's when she starts packing. She packs this cute dress that either has polka dots or strawberries on it. I didn't get a good look, but I hope it is strawberries. I don't believe she'd wear it, though. But why would you have a summery-looking dress like that? You can't go out in the summer. Well, not during the day, anyway. And they cut back to the present, where Louis is worried about Claudia being exploited. He he doesn't like that idea, but, like, Daniel's pointing out that the media would love her more than they would love Louis. They would have, like, sexy Claudia costumes. I don't know what a sexy Claudia costume would look like, because Claudia does not have, like, an official, like, look typically. She just wears clothes. And we cut back again to Lestat and Louis, who are getting changed for the night, and Lestat, you know, is, like, talking about how they're in real trouble. And, like, I would be moving at this point, because 56 bodies. But I guess from Louis' perspective, like, he believes Claudia will come back. He won't let Lestat touch her room. And Lestat's convinced she's not coming back. And I guess that kind of is a sensible reason to stay, because, like, how else would she find you? And I'm just wondering where she went. Louis makes a comment about, like, how for the next 7 years we would bunker down. I'm just trying to figure out if this is a 7-year time skip, because I don't know how time passes in this show. Like, it feels like every couple of minutes, years and years and years are passing. Like, I can't keep track anymore. We finally catch back up to Claudia, who is outside a very modern-looking high school, and some, like, racist jock kid is like, what were you doing in the library? You're not allowed in there, and he accuses her of stealing a book, and it's like, you know, John Tucker must die, let's kill this dude. But then some random dude on a bike shows up. I'm trying to page here my notes. And it's like, who the frick is this dude? And then it becomes apparent he is a vampire. And Claudia is quite pleased by this. Cut back to Louis and Lestat. Their house is a mess. There's a really plump raccoon crawling everywhere. Yeah, it's... Ugh. I feel like they've gone a little far here, because apparently they did really kind of shut themselves in and just cut away from life. And it's like, you realize going underground actually means going somewhere, not just boarding up your windows and hoping nobody knocks. Like, it doesn't really make much sense. And we got more of Lestat saying something in French. And we cut back to Claudia again. Oh, I think... Does Louis leave? Lestat leaves at some point. I don't think that's here, though. They keep cutting back between these two character groups. So, yeah. Lestat does not leave. Too many names. Lestat does not leave, but yeah, they've been, like, hunkering out. It's horrible. It doesn't fit Lestat especially at all, especially if they've been doing it for 7 years, but who knows. We cut back to Vampire Guy with Claudia. They've apparently killed the jock guy. Who cares, though? And it's just like, who is this dude? Like, is he supposed to be someone from the books? No one comes to mind. He introduces himself finally as Bruce. So it's like, oh, is it a new character? Where's this going to go? He gives her a book, and it's like, I got this from some young girl I thought you might be interested in. All I could think of was Twilight. It took me several minutes to realize the book is called, like, Etiquette, and it's, like, supposed to be etiquette lessons, and at first it seems like maybe she could use it just to, like, you know, learn how to be more proper, to fit in better, you know, because as a vampire you need to be able to do that at times. But then the vampire kind of starts getting a little creepy, a little too close, and he's asking how old she is, which is a little disturbing. She claims she's over 100, and I'm just like, how much time is passing? I'm very confused here. Becomes very apparent that this vampire guy is a major jerk. And then we cut back to the present, because, like, she like, gets mad at the vampire and tries to leave, and he, like, breaks her leg or something, and she screams, and he talks about how she was going to run away. Then we cut back to the present, and Daniel notes how there's, like, 4 pages missing, and Louis is, like, ruining the table, scratching it into, like, pieces, and Louis does not want to tell Daniel what those 4 pages were, and it's apparently hinting that this vampire guy assaulted Claudia, which is very out of nowhere, and yeah, it just, because, like, I don't know if this Bruce character is going to come back and be relevant in some way. I don't believe there's any character even remotely like this or with this name in the books, and when we cut back to Claudia, they don't, like, show her being traumatized from what happened or anything. So it just feels like a very odd scene. Louis doesn't like that Daniel is continuing to ask about what happened. And he uses his powers to make Daniel's Parkinson's flare up, because apparently that's another vampire ability, the power to control Parkinson's disease. And again, Louis coming across as a major jerk here. Rashid gets him to stop by coming down and, like, putting a hand on his shoulder, and it's like, And he tries to, like, defend Louis, and, like, sometimes Louis gets upset with Claudia as much as, like, who the frick is Rashid? Like, this is getting more and more suspicious. It's this scene that kind of made me think that Rashid would somehow turn out to be Louis. And Daniel comes over in the middle of this and slaps Louis across the face, and it's like, you should have punched him. Like, what'd you slap him for? I am glad he did something, though, because it's like, I don't care if you're a vampire, you don't do stuff like that. Cut back to Louis and Lestat. Louis eats a random rat that was just walking by, which is like, wow, like, this does not make sense. I don't see Lestat allowing the house to fall into this state. Like, it's not believable at all. This is when Lestat goes out, because he is just so tired of sitting around, and Louis just keeps thinking about Claudia. And again, we're not really showing any afterwards. I think we get a scene of, like, Claudia sitting, it looks like behind the wall of the library, a library, but nothing really reflecting, like, how she feels about what happened to her, which it might tie into the fact that those 4 pages are missing. Maybe we'll get that later. But so Louis goes out and meets with Grace. I have no idea how much time has passed. She looks good. She seems disturbed that he looks the same as ever. She looks the same as ever. I mean, I guess she's supposed to be much older now, but again, I have no idea. Like, was Claudia lying when she told Charlie she was 19 or whatever? Was she lying when she told Bruce she was 104? They keep skipping time, so you can't tell what the real timeline is, and it's like, we really need Louis narrating these time jumps. It makes it so confusing. But anyway, she says that Louis is not her Louis anymore, and apparently they like killed him off, and he has a grave and everything at this point, which, like, did no one notice Louis is dead? Because people still treat him like he's alive. Is it that easy to say someone is dead when they're not? She's apparently going up north with her family, and it's like, did you really need to fake my death if you're leaving? When did you do this? And, like, I'm just happy Grace made it out alive. And Claudia was there, and she was spying on Louis, and again, he does not sense this at all. And apparently, Claudia now kind of understands why she was made. She goes back to the house. Louis is relieved to see her. She apologizes, and it's already starting to remind me of that scene in the movie where Claudia acts like she's apologizing to Lestat and then tries to kill him. And Lestat is just like, apology not accepted. And Claudia reveals that she does plan to travel to look for more vampires, but she's like, I'm here for Louis. So she's apparently trying to take Louis with her. And Lestat is, of course, still being a nasty jerk. And I'm just at this point, what do either of them still care? Why does Lestat still care about Louis? He doesn't really seem to like him much. Why does Louis care about Lestat? And, like, not wanting them to leave, because Claudia basically starts calling him out on his abuse tactics when he starts bringing up, like, Charlie and stuff. Like, this is what he does. And so he attacks her. Louis attacks him. It turns into an episode of Jerry Springer. Lestat is punching the living daylights out of Louis, throwing Claudia all over the place. What is happening? The house is trashed. Claudia oddly calls Lestat Uncle Lestat, or Uncle Les, as she follows him outside where he's dragging Louis. There's this huge trail of blood, and it's like, it's me you want, take me and leave Louis alone. And he's like, oh, it was never about you, which kind of confused me in the moment, but I think it's just that all he cares about really is Louis and not her, which I don't like that. Like, I always kind of felt like Lestat had some fondness for Claudia. And then they kind of zip line up into the sky, and the sky looks pretty. And I don't buy this relationship, because, like, Lestat's like, just tell me you can never love me, like stop, like, toying with me or whatever. And again, I don't buy the relationship. We haven't really seen enough of them together and happy to make me feel like it's worth all this. I believed Twilight more. Like, at least when Bella starts to get massively depressed over Edward, you could kind of see why she liked him. Here, I don't really get where the love is. And they're like, super high up in the sky, like, really, really high up, and Louis is just like, let go of me. And it's like, don't tell him to let go of you when you're this high up, because he's going to take it literally, which he does. And it's okay, though, because the roof breaks Louis' fall, and he should really probably be like a splatter on the ground, but he's just covered in bruises. And it's like, vampires bruise? Like, wouldn't their wounds heal pretty fast unless they were, like, super serious? And then they have Claudia rushing over to him, and Lestat kind of looking at them, and Claudia looks mad. Like, I almost think she's about to go Super Saiyan. But then we cut, the episode ends, and they're showing, like, a preview for the next episode. It's kind of hard to tell what happens, because apparently they both survive this, so... And it looks like it's going to be an all-out war between Claudia and Lestat for Louis, but it's like I would never forgive Lestat for how he's acted. Is Louis going to? Like, he beat you black and blue, and they have, like, a scene where Daniel's like, oh, you know, he only hit me one time, officer. And then Claudia throws out this line where she's like, we were his slaves, and I'm going to free us. And it's like, oh my gosh, please tell me the show is not going to go that way. Because, you know, they did the race swapping, but they made it unique. Like, they actually worked it into the story. And even when, like, all the white people were being super racist, it made sense for the time period. And Lestat was awful, but even in the book and in the movie versions of Interview with the Vampire, he was not portrayed as a good guy. But then they throw in this random white vampire who just shows up and assaults Claudia for no reason. And then they have this random slave comparison. And it's like... Are they trying to make some sort of thing where all the white characters are evil and trying to control the black characters? I don't even know anymore. Like I said, I hope they don't go that way. That's not what the Vampire Chronicles was ever about, and there's not really a need to make it about that. So, I don't know. Like, I don't really want to see Bruce again unless he dies, but I hope they bring him back, if only to make that scene with Claudia have happened for a reason. Like, I don't know, this episode was definitely not my favorite. It felt really weird in a lot of places. And, well, I guess we will see where they go from here. So, anyway, what did you think of the episode? Tell me in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.